Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tiny Blue Games. My name, of course, is Sisa or Chris, and today we're talking about MMOs in general, but specifically we're focusing on some of the announcements that were made during Blizzcon 2017. And this has to do with a very anticipated expansion announcement, which was super exciting, don't get me wrong. We learned about a new expansion that's going to be focused on the factions of the Horde and the Alliance and how they're going to be fighting for land and different sub-alliances and stuff like that. And it's a very exciting topic for them to focus on because I think the game's really gotten away from that over the years. There's been a lot of cases where there's these big threats and the Horde and Alliance have to be like, oh, yo, our entire existence is going to be destroyed if we don't align for a little bit, so let's align. And that's been great for these stories that do affect the entire world, but I think returning to the roots of Horde versus Alliance, taking over lands and stuff like that is a really great place for them to go to. And I think it's going to do a lot for the game to really refocus that, because the factions that have been established in this franchise are probably some of the most popular in any MMO, and exploiting that uniqueness in the MMO market, because a lot of people do miss the kind of faction play, and a lot of MMOs, like Guild Wars 2 and stuff like that, don't offer that rivalry between factions. So this is a really great thing for World of Warcraft to offer. Now, the actual focus of this video is the other announcement that was made at BlizzCon, and this was probably even more exciting and less expected than the announcement of the expansion. And this is the announcement of World of Warcraft Classic, which is a legacy server. And I loved watching the live streams of this. You saw people just typing like, oh my god, they actually did it. Like, a lot of people have been dreaming about this and, wishing it and hyping it up for years and years and years. And like, it was one of those things that you'd say and you kind of thought, they'd never actually do it. Like, and that's kind of an interesting thing, that we still hype up things that we don't think are going to happen. And maybe this case is going to make it so that people wish for the moon now and like ask the most out of developers instead of just shying away. But it's happening. They're making legacy servers for World of Warcraft. And if you don't know what that means and haven't been following this, that's pretty much, it means that they're going to add a server that gives you the first expansion of World of Warcraft, or the, I guess, base game of World of Warcraft, WoW Vanilla, as a server. So from your server list or whatever, you go into the server and it's just vanilla WoW. It's, that old level cap, that old content. You get to re-experience that. You get to re-experience what the game was like all those years ago. And for people who played back then, it's like nostalgia overdrive, right? Because like, oh my god, I wish I could go back to the good old days, is how those people feel. For people like me who joined World of Warcraft late Wrath of the Lich King and just got to hear people talk about how great vanilla WoW was, this is an excellent opportunity for us to actually experience how WoW launched. Like, this is a crazy opportunity, and it's very exciting. It's a great decision for lots of reasons, but it does have some negative consequences, and I really want to have kind of a pros and cons discussion about this. I think we'll start with the pros, and then we'll sort of look at the cons, and then we'll discuss how this could affect other games, because WoW is not necessarily the first game that's done this. It's just probably the game that's been asked to do it the most. The first game that really did this was RuneScape, which has a much more advanced RuneScape that you can play, but also offers the old version of the game, which has become very popular as well. And it's kind of proven the concept that although there's a newer version that's enhanced in a lot of features and graphically and all that, people will still go back to the old one just because of how much they loved playing it back when they were a kid or whatever. So WoW is really trying to focus on that and bring back those memories for people who played this when they were young. And with that, I think they're going to find a lot of success. I think this is going to be huge to bring back a lot of people who think World of Warcraft has lost its way. They've already done that a fair bit with Legion, that was returning back to kind of that old content style and old lore. And they saw a lot of success with that. So I think this is like just the next step of that, and that's going to bring back a lot of subscriptions. which is very exciting for anyone who's interested in the development of this game. What this also does is it discourages illegal private servers that did the same thing. So beforehand, if you wanted to play an older version of World of Warcraft, you could actually do that. You could play a private server. And this is just a server ran by a third party that's altered often to be, a previous patch version of the game and just kept there and, maintained in different ways for a very small group of players that have downloaded this particular server to play. And it's frowned upon by Blizzard. And it's not only World of Warcraft that's had private servers. Lots of other games have private servers. The biggest one that I know about, and you might not know about at all, is MapleStory, which has a ton of private servers. And this is actually a great segue into what kind of games should have these legacy servers. Because obviously it doesn't work in every game. I think particularly games that have a lot of private servers and private servers that are very popular should probably consider this system, because that shows that the market has a large demand for a old version of the server. If people are going out of their way to maintain and create these for the community, it says, hey, maybe the developers should do this and get in on the action. So that's definitely something to look at. And I think particularly it's these games that have been out on the market for a really long time, and kind of had a identity crisis somewhere along the way. So, for instance, in World of Warcraft, we had growth from Vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. We peaked, Cataclysm was okay, and then we just, slumped down. And that's not saying that Pandaria wasn't good, Draenor was not great, but there was an identity crisis somewhere along the way, and people definitely felt that. And then they got a bit back on their feet with Legion, but this is a real reset button for a lot of people who left the franchise and said, I'm not coming back because it's not Vanilla WoW. You can't say that anymore because you could play Vanilla WoW if you wanted to. Looking back at my MapleStory example, and you might not have ever played MapleStory, so this isn't a great example for you, but they had an identity crisis too. They were extremely popular, come 2006, 2007. That's when I played, and it was just a world of exploration and fun as a child. And then they started adding too many classes. There was this patch called the Big Bang, which shifted all the XP rates and all the damage rates and stuff like that. And then things became too pay to win, yada, yada, yada. It really got off track. And then they got back on their feet a bit by introducing what they called a reboot server, which just removed a bit of the pay to win and stuff like that. It didn't change too much of the game, but it took away a lot of the aspects that people really hated. And that brought a lot of people back. They were like, hey, yes, you're removing the stuff that we hated and returning it to how we wanted. This is great. And it's a proof of concept. I mean, if that worked, I have no doubt in my mind if MapleStory made a classic server that was a 2006 version of the game, there would be a huge surge of people who used to play the game that will come back just to enjoy that. So I think developers in general need to watch, do we have a ton of these private servers? If yes, maybe we should look into this. I mean, the other benefit of this is that if you have your own version of a private server that's legit and not going to get randomly shut down, people are going to turn to you instead of these shoddy third person ones. So it's a great way to fight private servers, just by making content instead of having these crazy legal battles, which are probably more work than they're worth with a lot of these cases. But now I think we need to talk a little bit about the negatives, because there definitely is some. The obvious one is that we're going to fracture the population of World of Warcraft or whatever game we're talking about. Some people are going to want to play Legacy, and that's going to completely remove them from regular World of Warcraft, which becomes not a huge problem off the start, because that's probably it's just going to be a bunch of people who spike over to Legacy of Vanilla WoW. A lot of us aren't actually going to be able to handle how difficult Vanilla WoW was and just come right back to the regular game. But when they start adding other legacy servers, if they have a Burning Crusade one and then a Wrath of the Lich King one, this could really fracture how many people are playing World of Warcraft, and it could hurt. Now, World of Warcraft has so many people that this is probably not a problem, but for some games that have a smaller, total population, it could be an issue. The next issue is longevity, and that's really in terms of, why would you continue playing these legacy servers? Like, if you knew that there was not going to be content that continued and your character was going to get stuck at this level cap forever, for me, that would be a turnoff. I would always want to know that, hey, everything I do in this expansion is going to be great, but it's also great because all these achievements and stuff get carried on to the next expansion, and I get to have my mount there and my fortune that I made and stuff like that. In the legacy server, you're just stuck there. You're at that level. I don't know if they're going to, add content above and beyond what that expansion had, like raids that never existed in vanilla World of Warcraft, or if it's just purely what was there and that's it, that's all you get. So it's a big question that way, and I don't know what you guys think about it. Do you think it would be good for them to add extra content? I suspect that at any rate they'll see how popular these things are. The vanilla one for them is probably very much a test. Is this something that'll work? Is this something that people like? We'll find out. And then that also comes to the point, do they release the entire vanilla expansion, like all the patches that were ever in it at the start? Or do they release, what was at the start of the launch of the game, and then slowly add each patch that they added to vanilla World of Warcraft over time, like they did back then? And that would give it a bit more longevity, and then maybe after they've done all of that, they then release Burning Crusade Legacy 1, and they kind of go through the redevelopment of their game, because that's a lot of years. If they could relive the success of those years, Blizzard would do that in a heartbeat, and that might be very much the goal right now. So I think it's a great way for them to go either way, and I'm very excited to see what they do with this. I think it's also very interesting to see, will they do all of the expansions, or will they only do up to Wrath of the Lich King or up to Cataclysm, or just vanilla World of Warcraft? What expansions do you guys think they need to do? I'm pretty sure people are going to say the first 3 because those were awesome and we all have childhood memories of those. But I don't know, do people want a Cataclysm one, or do people want to stop at Wrath, or do people not even want Wrath? What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your comments below. What other games do you think deserve a classic or a legacy server? And what problems do you see with it? Anyways, until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.